Good evening. Welcome to regular Planning Commission meeting, February 2nd, 2023. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Who signed in? Planning Commission members present this evening. We have Ms. Coulter. We have Mr. Anderson, Mr. Gillings, Mr. Yancho, Mr. Hoffman, Mr. Bush. We have Jeremy Smith and our special guest today, Mr. David Ladd.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda for this evening. First thing would be approval of the agenda. Any changes?
None.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda as presented.
Motion by Mr. Anderson to approve the agenda as presented, support by Mr. Bush. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Approval of the minutes, January 5th, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, everybody has another set of the minutes. The ones on the dais are updated. Mr. Bandersky went through them and made a couple corrections with my assistant Maria Brown, and the corrected copy is in front of you now.
Oh, excellent.
I talked to Maria about the changes, and so I'm aware of those, and I believe that this corrected copy is correct. So I'd make a motion to accept these minutes as presented.
Okay, motion by Mr. Yancho, support by Mr. Hoffman. All right, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry about that, Eddie. 6-0. Public comment. We have a new method in place. for public-
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Township Board has adopted a new procedure for public comments. They have a card that they would like filled out for future correspondence if there is a need for any one of us here at the township to get a hold of the person making the public comment. So it's name, address, phone number, reason for the public comment, and then the best time to call.
Okay.
Do they still have to announce their name and?
We'd still like to, because you don't have to do, you have to do both, but you can also make your presence known, or you can have the chairman, from my understanding, have them read the card as well, correct?
Yeah, and so what it does is, first of all, we were not going through the spelling of the names, which we have to go through, and then people aren't giving their address because this is live stream. So we felt it was a little bit better for privacy for people. Seems to be working okay.
So would this be they're handed in to the meeting chairman, the meeting, he's gonna call up each individual person in the order the cards are and say, okay, Mr. John Smith, okay.
And just read the name, not address.
Correct. And if somebody doesn't want to give, all those details, they don't have to. It's just a way to really make sure that they get their questions answered, but also, again, to identify them, but not expose them to any sort of.
So we should ask for at least the name for sure and anything else that they would like to provide us so that we can contact them.
And statutorily, you're required to give your name, and that's all you're required to give. So the other stuff is just voluntary.
Very good. We would normally go to the public next, but since there's no public here, we move on from that. Correspondence, I didn't see anything else.
None.
Correspondence, no old business.
None.
New business, zoning case 67, or 674F. Public hearing for the text amendment.
Yes, sir. So in your packet, you have a memo from Jill. She unfortunately could not make it today. That's why I asked Attorney Laddie to be here. But at the last meeting, if you remember, we discussed section 3.1.14D, the development standards for a general commercial district to increase the building height. So what we were proposing is the rear yard will be 20 feet, will stay the same at 20 feet and 50 feet if adjacent to residential, plus the addition that we're asking to put in here now is plus 1 foot of additional setback for each foot of building height over 30. And then the minimum side yard setback will stay at 10, but we've added the addition of plus 1 foot of additional setback for each foot of building height over 30 feet. That was something that I think we discussed at length at the last meeting to make sure that we protect the residents if they have any commercial development next to or behind them. And then also with that, we've changed the building height from 30 to 40 feet and 2 stories to 3 stories, whichever is less. So if you want to, if there's any discussion on that one.
You say 2 to 3, whichever is less.
So so it's either going to be 3 stories, if we make this change, 3 stories or 40 feet, whatever is less.
Okay.
Any changes or discussion on
Any
that?
other comments? Everybody that's here good with it?
Are we gonna handle these singly or all together?
Anything?
I do them all together since we did them under one zoning case number, but I just figured if there was any discussion, we could just do them one by one.
I prefer.
I'm good.
The next section, section 3, and amend section 5.2.10, accessory structures. We're adding in verbiage that says shipping containers and storage pods, portable storage containers are prohibited, except that one portable storage container may be permitted for one 30-day period per year with approval from the planning and zoning administrator. Reason for this, as we discussed last month, the township does not feel that storage containers, shipping containers should be used as accessory outbuildings. So that's all I have.
Do we have to talk about the definitions?
I can add that too. Section 1, amend section 2.2, definitions of shipping container and storage pod. Shipping container is a steel box used for intermodal shipping products and materials between locations. Such containers are designed and constructed to standards established by the International Organization for Standards, ISO, and are typically 10, 20, 30, or 40 feet in length. And then the other addition is storage pod or portable storage container. Definition is a box container constructed of wood, steel, or other similar materials such as portable on-demand storage, also known as pods.
So I just wanted to, I guess, acknowledge that we would have a public hearing if there was any public here.
Yes.
That's sufficient?
Yes, that is sufficient.
There isn't anyone present from the public this evening, so.
One quick question.
Sure.
The storage pod container thing, would that include like, I've seen it, it's been a while, but I've still seen a couple around here. Old semi-trailers with the axles and stuff removed underneath them sitting on the ground. 53-foot semi-trailers.
An open one?
No, enclosed.
Enclosed one.
Yep.
I would say, and this, I'm really bringing this idea because Atlas did the same thing within the last 30 days. They passed a similar ordinance. And they made a distinction between a container or a trailer. They wanted to separate like functional trailers that you would see, being hauled down the road versus this sort of intermediate storage effort that people are putting on their property. And so when I read this, because I know other ordinances do talk about whether or not there's an axle attached to it or not, I read this to exclude that. So I would not think this included like a tractor trailer on wheels. I would think this is something that is going to be, again, the typical shipping container definition. It doesn't have wheels, it doesn't move by itself, it gets put on a truck and then put on the ground. So now, if you want to explore that, I mean, I guess you could consider some language that said, that carved out that exception if you want to do that.
I'm not.
Has that been an issue, Jeremy?
Not that I'm aware of. I guess is it an issue that you're still seeing, Mr. Anderson?
I know of a couple, yeah, I'm not gonna mention any addresses
Sure.
or anything here, but, where it's an old semi-trailer that the axles and I guess you'd call it the jacks underneath, the extension jacks were all removed and the
dropped on the ground.
dropped on the ground. The trailer itself is sitting right on the ground. No tires, no wheels.
That does not, I don't consider that to fall within this definition. But, so it may be, let me see if I can think about this for a second, because, you got the definition, when you got the International Organization for Standards, which presumably defines a shipping container. I don't know if that definition would that exclude something that was, again, a vehicle trailer without its axles?
But if it's a steel box used for intermodal shipping products, wouldn't that be considered as a tractor trailer? Or if it didn't have the axle, because they use that for transportation? You know, intermodal transportation, would that cover it or no?
Let me see if I can look this definition up just on the internet.
So not to muddy, but I think you were heading down the lines that I was thinking. I mean, one of those shipping containers, well, what they do is then when they take it off the ship, they put it on a tractor trailer, put wheels underneath it. It's still a shipping container.
Right.
Therefore, if you take the wheels out from underneath a steel box, how does that not make it a shipping container?
Right. That's,
It's a gray area, but I kind of
I
get.
was gonna kinda go in the same direction. A semi-trailer is not a shipping pod, it's a semi-trailer.
Right.
It's billed as a semi-trailer, you take the wheels off, and it's still a semi-trailer. So, to me, that's a totally separate definition than a pod or a storage container. So, you know, I like the verbiage as it is in this context, and if we're gonna take it up, that's another text amendment and another definition, because they're definitely two different things.
If I may,
Mr. Hoffman?
so if you put a shipping container on a trailer,
That's what it's designed for.
I'm just saying, if you put a shipping container on a trailer, then it's not held to these standards anymore?
If they take it off, it's still a shipping container.
Take it off. If they leave it on the
If it's not a
trailer.
trailer, it's a trailer.
I see where he's going. That's a different direction than me, but I see where you're going. Yeah, if it's on a trailer, it's on a trailer. And can you park a trailer there for long time storage
Right.
in your backyard?
So all you have to do is put your shipping container on a trailer
You
then.
can't do that.
that's covered, you can't do that.
But
What
So-
makes it a shipping container and trailer? The wheels.
Well,
Mr. Yancho?
I think that a standard shipping container has the brackets and paraphernalia to tie it down to a flatbed trailer or to a ship, and it also has the capacity to set more containers on top of it. So I think that's part of the ISO standards, is going to include those things as safety measures and so on. So I think we can fall back to the ISO standards. I don't think that,
I'll let Mr. Laddie finish his research.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that definition.
One question. Like Mr. Bush said, we're not done doing text amendments, so if we want to add another definition, I can have Jill add another one to it, and we can just discuss it in a future meeting. So I'm not opposed to that, because I see where this is going, and I think there's a potential there that either Attorney Laddie or Jill could weigh in on to give us a little more clarity if this, as is presented today, is sufficient, or if we need another definition in there.
Mr. Bush?
Well, again, I think bottom line, a tractor trailer is built, I think, to those standards because they carry those containers. But that's the exact thing. A tractor trailer carries the containers. By that
I'm going to
definition, they're
argue
two
that
different things.
I'm going to argue that a tractor trailer is not a shipping. I'm talking about a 53-foot regular semi-trailer, enclosed box that hauls your furniture to the warehouse.
Right, that's not a shipping container.
Right, but
Period.
there already is a ordinance for long-term trailer. You can't use a trailer for storage. That's already covered in a separate part of it. But if you take a semi-trailer off its steel frame, it's no longer has an axle, no longer has wheels, no longer has a stand, no longer has a hitch on it. You just got the box. Is that a shipping container?
It doesn't, snap your fingers and make it a shipping container. It's still a box. They're not built the same.
So you're gonna,
They're not built the same
so
way.
I can put
Well,
that on my property for storage, but I can't put a pod.
So there is a definition for these containers in the
The answer is yes.
ISO container definition, and they have, actually, there's a table in here that talks about 20-foot container, 40-foot high cube container, 45-foot high cube container, and they have external dimensions. They have interior dimensions, door aperture, volume, gross mass, empty weight, net load. And so there are specific construction standards, I guess, for these. And so I think if we wanted to leave this alone and say, well, we're talking about, ISO containers or iOS containers, and they need to meet these standards, I think that we would be able to make a distinction between a tractor trailer without its wheels or axles and this.
And then it seems to me it is a separate question. If you take the wheels off, can you leave that sitting on your property? It's something else we can address.
Yeah, I agree, but you also won't, it's unlikely that it's gonna meet these exact standards for these specific sizes. And so I think if you do wanna explore it down the road, if it does become a problem, you could do that. But I think having that definition or referring to that definition means that you've gotta meet these very strict standards.
Thank you. And I mean, the whole reason for this is basically, we don't want a steel metal box sitting there as an eyesore.
Right.
Now, if you take a tractor trailer and take the wheels off of it, it's a steel metal box. No, it doesn't adhere to being a shipping container, but it's still a steel metal box. By this ruling, that would be legal. Now, there might be another rule that says you can't leave a trailer, but by this rule, what your scenario that you're envisioning is legal, by this rule.
Right.
Okay,
Explain that again. Because it says it's prohibited. Shipping containers are prohibited.
you're saying that a tractor trailer is not a shipping
But
container.
that you guys are saying it is.
No,
I'm not.
Okay.
We're saying it's not.
I'm saying a tractor trailer with the wheels removed is not a shipping container, which is
Right.
why I'm worried that it could be allowed.
Because it doesn't meet the structural.
and under this structure, it would be allowed.
It's your.
Correct. So that's why I think if we want to explore that and have another,
Yeah, I guess the one question.
Another-
Just to put our consultant is, if I took the wheels off of that.
Sure. Yep,
Could I leave it here even though it's not a shipping container?
Not just the wheels, I'm talking take the axles underneath
Yeah,
it, so it's
right,
permanent.
right.
Yeah.
So that kind of begs the question, if I have a travel trailer and put it in my backyard and take the wheels and axles off it, is it no longer a travel
All
trailer?
right, we're going too deep now, we're talking.
I mean, does removing the wheels and axles
That doesn't
from
make it a
something?
There's a motor in that, that's.
well,
No,
but
not a
it-
travel
Hold
trailer.
that. But if
travel
it's still a
trailer.
boat,
right, so if you take the wheels off an RV or a fifth wheel, it's not a fifth wheel anymore, you're trying to use it as storage. So that's different, it's got a different definition.
You gotta handle tractor trailers differently, whether they have wheels or axles or not. That's a whole separate category. Because we do allow it, right? I mean, in commercial and industrial, they're everywhere.
Right.
So I think if you want to tackle, and this is a good way to take it in smaller bites, if you want to tackle the shipping container phenomenon, you've just done it.
Yep.
That's fine,
If you want to tackle the other issues,
but it is different.
then that could be a later discussion.
All right, everybody good with that?
Yes, sir.
We're gonna send this to the board as it is, or we're gonna review this again?
I would prefer to push this forward as is, and then we will get Jill's definition at the next meeting. I will get with her this week or next week to make sure at the next meeting when we meet, that's added to our list of discussion points.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
And not to, again, but may I, sir?
Yeah.
Were you talking about it being in a commercial zoning or residential, maybe?
The ones I know of are in commercial.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's
allowed, I think.
that's a little.
For permanent storage?
Well,
It's,
there's different standards for commercial, there's different standards in residential.
Plus, it's got to be site planned, right?
Agreed, but this, what we have here today was more focused for residential, not
good
commercial.
with what this is then, although I wouldn't mind having that pursued a little further, but I'm good with sending this to the township board. But yeah, even in commercial area, would that be considered storage?
So I will also have her look into that as well, difference between commercial and residential, yes.
Okay.
I would say residential, there's no way we would ever allow this, but commercial, like Attorney Laddie said, maybe could be allowed if it was site plan for. We knew that was gonna happen, you've got a trucking company, and these are just gonna sit there, but they're gonna sit there with axles and tires and stuff, so that's a little different, so.
We're going through this right now at Walmart.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Oh,
that's-
So
But
there,
those are-
but those are, so there
Those
are.
are shipping containers.
Yeah, there are shipping, and you don't want shipping containers under, because they are more permanent than a tractor trailer.
Right.
And they are, I mean, they're meant to just sit there and hold stuff for as long as you want and then take them away. Like at Walmart, if they didn't have any shipping containers at Walmart, they would be using viable, presumably, tractor trailers, and they'd just be sitting there dead space for 6 months. And that's not really, we can handle that problem in a different way.
Oh, we're handling it.
But so I think, I like what you guys did here. We may need to look at what we do about tractor trailers
Yes.
and with or without wheels and all that stuff.
Yep, so I will have Jill look into that for our next.
Okay. If that's the case, then I will motion to approve the, I just lost my page here.
Recommend to the township board.
Yep, approve, recommended, moving forward with the recommendation of the township board for zoning case ZC 674F. Do I have to go through each member or say it as a whole for this?
You can just do 674F because it covers both.
Okay, 674F as presented to move to the township board.
Motion by Mr. Anderson, I have support by Mr. Bush. Any other discussion? If not, votes in order. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes 6-0. Next item on our agenda is committee reports. Any committee reports?
Nothing.
I don't know. I know there's no site plan. All right,
There's gonna be,
what's that?
there's gonna be the next month or two.
More than one?
Oh, yeah.
As the weather warms up, things are heating up.
Uh-huh, sure are. My desk is full of site plans right now.
Good.
Randy Wise Toyota. There's another one we're dealing with, but I won't let that cat out of the bag just yet because it's not quite finished.
Very good. I think we take a motion for adjournment then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion,
You have to say on behalf of Mr. Bandersky.
I'm in his chair, isn't that enough?
motion by Mr. Not Banders. Nacho. Gosh, you got me. Can't read the clock. What is it?
7:22.
It is 7:22.
Support for that by Mr. Hawk. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. We are adjourned 6-0.